I didn't argue with him when he said it. There didn't seem to be a point. He was already tired, already half elsewhere, his voice thin like it had been sanded down by time. I nodded, even smiled, the way you do when someone asks for something that won't matter much longer. After the funeral, the guitar showed up at my apartment in a battered case that smelled faintly of dust and old wood. It wasn't valuable, I checked. No hidden label, no forgotten fortune, just scratches, worn strings, and a weight that felt inconvenient more than meaningful. I set it in the corner of my living room and told myself the wish was symbolic, that remembering him was enough. Adults are good at translating uncomfortable obligations into abstract gestures. Weeks passed. Life kept asserting itself. Emails, rent, noise. Every time I thought about standing on a street corner with a guitar, my chest tightened. Not from fear exactly, but from embarrassment. I wasn't a street musician. I wasn't even very good. That corner was busy, public, exposed. Eventually, guilt stopped feeling sharp and started feeling dull, which was worse. So one afternoon, without ceremony, I took the case and went. 6th and Main was not the kind of place you imagine when people talk about destiny. It smelled like exhaust and hot concrete. Traffic lights clicked impatiently. People moved through each other without looking. I stood near a lamp post and felt immediately in the way. I opened the case, tuned the strings as best I could, and played. The sound was thin at first. My fingers were stiff. A man brushed past without slowing. Someone laughed nearby at something unrelated. I watched shoes more than faces. After a few minutes, I considered stopping. I had shown up. That counted, didn't it? As I played, memories came up. Not the warm kind, the ordinary ones. My grandfather at the kitchen table, quietly fixing something no one else wanted to bother with. The way he listened more than he spoke. How I used to think he lacked ambition, mistaking restraint for smallness. I'd never asked him about the guitar. I'd never really asked him about anything. A woman slowed as she passed, then stopped. She didn't smile or clap. She just listened for a moment, nodded to herself, and moved on. A few minutes later, a teenager leaned against a parking meter, pretending not to listen, but stayed through an entire song. That was it. No crowd, no validation, just presence. Then I noticed the security guard across the street. He wasn't aggressive, just observant. He watched for a while, then spoke into his radio. My stomach tightened. I imagined explanations I didn't want to give. When he approached, I stopped playing. "You can't block the sidewalk," he said, neutral, practiced. "I'm not," I said, though I could hear how defensive it sounded. He looked at the guitar, then at me. "Do you have a permit?" "No." He sighed, the kind that suggested this wasn't personal. "You'll have to—" "Hold on," another voice said. A woman in a city badge stepped closer, eyes narrowing, not at me, but at the guitar. She crouched slightly, as if confirming something. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "It was my grandfather's," I said. "He asked me to play here." She straightened. "What was his name?" When I told her, something shifted, not dramatically, just enough. "He used to play here on Saturdays," she said, "years ago. Quiet guy, never caused trouble, had a standing permission before the new system came in." She looked at the guard. "He's fine for today." The guard nodded and stepped back without comment. I didn't know what to say. The woman gave a small professional smile and walked away, already focused on her phone. I stood there longer than I intended, the guitar suddenly heavier in a different way. Not because it carried a secret, but because it carried consistency. My grandfather hadn't been waiting for recognition, he'd been waiting for continuity. I played again, not better, just steadier. When I finally packed up, nothing in my life had visibly changed. No offers, no applause, no sudden clarity about who I was supposed to be. But something had settled. I stopped treating quiet acts as meaningless. I stopped assuming visibility was the same as importance. The guitar stayed out of its case after that, not as a shrine, but as an option. I still don't play every week. Sometimes I pass 6th and Main and keep walking. Sometimes I stop. I think that was the point.
Not obedience, presence, taking up space without asking to be admired. I misunderstood him when he was alive. I still probably do. But now, when I play, I'm not trying to change my life. I'm just finally standing where he stood and not dismissing it.